listening to the Narrative Podcast with Halsey Allen. The Narrative Podcast is changing the narrative one episode at a time.
Hello, everybody. How is everybody doing this weekend? Welcome to another full edition of the Narrative Podcast on this sensational Saturday. The Narrative Podcast is the home of original people peace, original people reciprocity, and original people positivity. And I am your host, Halsey Allen. Welcome to the Narrative Podcast. Welcome all my narrators. So I got a pretty decent show lined up for you this evening, and it should be shared back on the social at a decent time this evening. So for first time in a long time, it's not going to be Saturday-ish. It's going to be like Saturday. So yay me. But anyway, welcome to the Narrative Podcast. How was your week this week? We had so many things happening in the world today. Anyway, welcome to the Narrative Podcast. How I usually start things off, for those that are unfamiliar with me and my platform, I basically start with my promotional section. In that section, what I'm doing is I'm promoting all the projects that I would like my listening audience to participate in and support to keep the platform going. And then my next section is just a brief overview of the Narrative Podcast, everything you need to know about it as a listener, so that you can fully digest the content. So basically, I'm just giving you a brief overview for full context before diving into the content. So now that you know how I start things off, let's get started with my first section, the promotional section. So the first thing that I would like to promote, obviously, is the platform itself, the Narrative Podcast. And the way you can support the Narrative Podcast is follow me on two mediums, YouTube and Twitter. X, formerly Twitter, but I just, it's just Twitter rolls off the tongue smoother. So I just say Twitter. Like, if you have an account, then they transitioned it to X, but legit, nobody says X. I mean, it says X when you get to the app, but all users, I guarantee you, they still say Twitter. I guarantee you all users still call their uploads tweets. Nobody says X. I don't even know why he did that, but anyway, follow me on YouTube or Twitter. So basically, the way you support the Narrative Podcast following me from YouTube is to subscribe to my channel, which is Halsey Allen, Hallzie Allen, Allen, and subscribe, and then click the notification icon, which is the notification bell. Click on that, then click notification all, and then you will be fully notified every time a brand new episode of the Narrative Podcast is uploaded to YouTube. Also, of course, if you're familiar with YouTube, you also want to like all episodes of the Narrative Podcast by clicking on the like icon, which is the thumbs up. Click the thumbs up icon and you will be supporting the platform, with the algorithm on YouTube and all that. And then after you've liked the latest episode of the Narrator Podcast, you want to comment on that episode and then share that episode on all platforms that you like to share content to. So whatever platform you enjoy uploading content to, upload the newest episode of the Narrator Podcast on that platform. Now, the Narrator Podcast is available on all podcast platforms. It's shared across, any podcast source. So wherever you get yours, you'll definitely see it. It's the Narrator Podcast. To make sure you're getting the correct podcast titled the Narrator Podcast, make sure it's hosted by me, Halsey Allen, because there are legitimately thousands of podcasts titled the Narrator Podcast. But mine is the only podcast that actually matters, because I'm the only one really talking about something, talking about social issues, world issues, important stuff. Everybody else is talking about relationships and hacks and But anyway, so back to what I was saying. That's how you support me when following me on YouTube. Subscribe to my channel. Like the latest episode of the Narrator Podcast. Upload it to YouTube. Comment in the comment section on YouTube. What you like, what you didn't like, whatever. Just leave me a comment and then share it back to, whatever you like, platform you like to share content to. And then quick message from my visual content creators. Whoever is a visual content creator, to support the Narrator Podcast, shout out the Narrator Podcast on whatever platform that you upload your visual content to. So if you're a podcaster yourself, you got your own podcast, you're just a YouTuber, do skits, Instagrammer, Facebooker, TikToker, whatever, shout out the Narrator Podcast and make sure you're shouting out the Narrator Podcast hosted by me, Halsey Allen. It'll help tremendously with the algorithm, which will translate into a better listening experience for you and ultimately a transitional experience to video itself. So I'm still kind of working on transitioning from this audio platform to video, which isn't very difficult to do. I just haven't decided on the motif and still trying to get guests and whatnot. I mean, it's a good enough show just to do it just like I'm doing it in audio format, but it's more exciting when you actually got people to talk to. So still working on the guest situation before committing to doing a video version of the Narrative Podcast. But anyway, for my visual content creators, please shout out the Narrative Podcast across all platforms. Share episodes of the Narrative Podcast across all platforms from YouTube. All right. So that's how you support the Narrative Podcast on YouTube. And then the way you support the Narrative Podcast on Twitter is as followed. So you want to open the app, or if you're on the desktop, go to Twitter, or you got your device, open up the app, go to Twitter, look for my profile. My profile is I Stay Good at Halsey Allen, spelled the exact same way, Hallzie Allen, and then it's I Stay Good at Halsey Allen, all lowercase, no spaces, and then you're on the correct page when you see a copy of my book of poetry pinned to the top of the profile. And the name of my book is titled The Black Card, and I'll give you a little bit more insight to what that book is about a little bit later on in the promotional section. But so now that you're on Twitter, what you want to do is look for the latest episode of the Narrator podcast that's uploaded to Twitter. Click on that link. Then once the link is open, what you want to do is click the like button. You know when it's open because you will see my banner, which is just a picture of a microphone, and it says the Narrator podcast on it. So you want to click the like icon, and the like icon is in the shape of a heart. So you want to click the heart-shaped like button to like that episode of the Narrator podcast. And then after you click that like button, it'll open up again, and you'll see the episode fully opened. And then just the banner is bigger now. So now you see all the other options. So after it's fully open, you want to click the heart-shaped like button again. Then next to the heart-shaped like button, you will notice an icon, a clock icon. I don't know what it's there for. I don't know. It's just there. Ignore it. Go to the comment box. Leave me a comment in the comment box on Twitter. And then next to the comment box, after you've left the comments, comment whatever you like, whatever you didn't like about that episode. Next is the download button, and the download button or the download icon, button or icon, whichever word you prefer to say, is in the shape of a cloud. And so you want to click on the cloud. It has an arrow pointing down, so you want to click on the cloud icon to download the episode of the Narrator podcast that was uploaded on Twitter. And that is the most important step to support the platform, is the downloads. So remember to download this episode and all previously recorded episodes of the Narrator podcast. And again, all episodes of the Narrator podcast is available on all podcast platforms. So wherever you go to listen to podcasts, the Narrator podcast is probably, streaming on that platform. And again, make sure it's the correct one you're downloading. Make sure it's the one hosted by me, Halsey Allen. And then after you've downloaded the episode, which takes less than a minute, takes like about 35 to 45 seconds to download the episode, share it across all platforms, whatever platform that you enjoy sharing content to. Make sure you share the latest episode of the Narrative podcast from Twitter across all platforms. And then, of course, retweet it. If you have a Twitter account, retweet the episode in your feed. And then, and then share it across all platforms. And then again, the same deal for the visual content creators. If you're a visual content creator, shout out the Narrative podcast, hosted by me, Halsey Allen. And then I run it back one more time, how you support the Narrative podcast when you're following me on Twitter. Follow me on Twitter. I stay good at Halsey Allen. Click on the link of the latest uploaded episode of the Narrator podcast. Once the link is open, click on the heart-shaped like button, and then wait for it to fully upload. After it's uploaded, Click on the heart-shaped like button again. Leave a comment in the comment box on the Narrative Podcast. Then download that episode. Share that episode across all platforms. And that's how you support the Narrative Podcast when following me from Twitter. And the reason why you want to follow me on YouTube and Twitter is because this platform that I'm broadcasting on automatically uploads to YouTube and Twitter. Like as soon as I'm done recording the episode, it automatically uploads to YouTube and Twitter. Every other platform where the link appears is because I manually had to do it. I manually had to put the link there. So, if you see it anywhere other than YouTube and Twitter, just know I had to go the extra mile and manually put the link there. So no bots put it there. It was me. If it appears somewhere other than YouTube or Twitter. The next thing I need you to, or I would like for you to do to support, is my personal book of poetry that I've written. It is titled The Black Card. Currently it's available only on one medium, and that's poetizer.com. And to purchase the card, visit poetizer.com and then click on bookstore. Poetizer.com has a virtual online bookstore. So once you logged on to poetizer.com, go to the online bookstore, or you can type poetizer.com into the browser, poetizer.com, and then bookstore. It should pop up automatically once you type poetizer.com and bookstore. They have a virtual online bookstore. Go to their virtual online bookstore to purchase my book of poetry titled The Black Card. And what The Black Card book is about, it's an all-encompassing perspective piece about us as a people, everything we experience as a people, all the nuances within our culture, everything we encounter as a people, both positive and negative, just everything that it means to be who we are, which is black. That's why I titled the book The Black Card. So it's a day in the life of / a journal / survival guide / retrospective piece. So yeah, in literature, I believe poems like that are called retrospective pieces. So that's what the Black Card is about. It's just 30 pages of poems that capture everything about our people and our culture. So if you're an original man or an original woman, you can automatically relate to each and every piece in the Black Card. It's just like your spirit will just be like the book will be calling out to your spirit, to beckoning you to read those poems. People outside of our culture, you don't have to feel left out either. You can purchase the Black Card as long as you possess an open mind and enjoy learning about different people and different cultures. That's the perfect read for you. It's very informative, and you can broaden your horizons and relate better to black people in your life, whether it's in your family, a colleague, an associate, or just somebody you know. You can have a more insightful look into their world. Now, you can't by no means ever know in verbatim like what they experience and go through as a people, no more than they can look in your life and know what it means to be you. But you can definitely be a little bit more informed and more aware of the things that we experience and what we have to endure being black. You can also definitely use it as an educational tool for your children and enjoy the book that way. So go to poetizer.com, go to the virtual online bookstore and purchase the black card today, or get your black card revoked. If you're unfamiliar with poetizer.com is just a social media platform for writers, specifically poets. It's implied in the name, poetizer.com, but it's also open to, you know, other forms of writing, such as people that like to write novels, essays, even journal writing is welcome into that community. Poetizer.com also has a self-publishing feature, so members of that community can take advantage of that and use that self-publishing feature to write their own book, market their own book, and distribute their book that they've written using their self-publishing software. And that's what the bookstore is really about. So it's for people that write, you know, books on their platform using their self-publishing software. And, you know, after the book is written, you know, they market and distribute the book for you. So that's what poetizer.com is. Visit poetizer.com, go to the virtual online bookstore, and purchase my 30-page book of poetry titled The Black Card. Purchase it today or get your black card revoked. And the last thing I would like to promote is my personal poetry blog on blogger.com titled Hallzies Poetry Corner. The poems featured on Hallzies Poetry Corner are just, you know, a collection of my personal poems ranging from a wide array of topics. You know, any experience that you experience in life, there's a piece on that blog site that is reflective of said experience. It also deals with emotions, so like whatever, you know, emotion you're feeling, there's a poem on there to commemorate said emotion. So it's basically just abstract art. Anybody that likes to read poetry, or just anybody that likes to read in general, can go to Hallzies Poetry Corner and enjoy themselves through my art form. You're guaranteed to relate to either, you know, a couple lines of the piece, or the piece in its entirety. You're guaranteed to find a piece of yourself, you know, whatever you're going through, whoever you are as a person, whatever you're experiencing in life or have experienced in life, you know, you're going to read a poem and identify with that on Hallzies Poetry Corner. And, you know, that's the unique thing about Hallzies Poetry Corner. The poems on that is just so diverse and eclectic Anybody can, from any background, can read it and relate to it. As a matter of fact, the tagline for Hallzies Poetry Corner is Hallzies Poetry Corner, poetry with a passion, poetry for all occasions. And when you read one of the poems featured on that blog site, you will see that, you know, those poems measure up to that tagline. So to read and experience poems featured on Hallzies Poetry Corner, go to Hallzies Poetry Corner on blogger.com at www.mrhallziesblogs.com. Now, when you click on that link, you're going to see a little message. It's going to be like a little triangle, and it's going to try to scare you. It's going to say, your connection is not secure if you're doing it from your device. If you're on a desktop, I don't think you have nothing to worry about. But if you're doing it from your browser, your device or a tablet, it's going to say this connection is not secure, and give you the option to not proceed forward or proceed forward. So what I would like for you to do is proceed forward anyway upon seeing that warning message. It's not going to upload a virus. It says your connection is not secure, but nobody's going to steal your data from going to my poetry site. It's a Google product, so highly doubtful. Go to poetizer.com and read some really great abstract poems that you can relate to. Another thing about the poetry featured on Hallzies Poetry Corner is I wrote each and every single one of them on the spur of the moment. I didn't contemplate about, what I was going to write about. I didn't contemplate what I was going to title each piece. All the subjects, all the poems, they just literally just popped into my mind. So that's like crazy. It's like they're just so intricate and detailed. You would think that I followed all the steps of writing, drafting and editing and all that. I didn't at all. They literally just popped into my head and I posted them on there. So, the poems on Hallzies Poetry Corner are completely organic and sporadic. I didn't give any cognitive thought about what I was going to write about or what I was going to title the piece after I was done writing it. So essentially all the poems on that blog site wrote themselves. They just used me as a conduit to manifest. But yeah, so go check those out on Hallzies Poetry Corner at www.mrhallziesblogs.com. And the way you support Hallzies Poetry Corner is to go to the link, www.mrhallziesblogs.com, share the link to Hallzies Poetry Corner or poems featured on Hallzies Poetry Corner across all platforms, whatever you like to upload content to. Upload the link or a poem from Hallzies Poetry Corner across all platforms. Also, when you get to the site, click on the like button. The like button on Hallzies Poetry Corner is the shape of a heart. So click on the heart-shaped like button, then comments. Each poetry piece has a comment box on it. What you want to do is just, let me know what you're feeling, what you're thinking, some feedback on the poetry piece, positive or negative. Don't get too crazy. If it's negative, I don't mind a little grammar feedback. I don't mind, syntax feedback. Don't get super personal, but, leave me a comment. And then, of course, so like, comment, and share the link to Hallzies Poetry Corner, or poems featured on Hallzies Poetry Corner across all platforms. And of course, the same thing for the visual content creators, whatever visual content space that you occupy. Just shout out Hallzies Poetry Corner across all platforms. So if you're a YouTuber, a TikToker, Facebooker, whatever visual platform you have, shout out Halsey Allen, Hallzies Poetry Corner. The name of the poem that you enjoyed when you visited the blog spot, or the blog site, spot site, I guess that's the same thing, but just support Hallzies Poetry Corner. Appreciate it. Thank you. That's all the projects that I have to plug, and I will keep you up to date with any new projects that I'm working on or anything that I complete. But those are pretty much my mainstays that I need support for. So go check them out. Support this platform, the Narrator Podcast. Download this episode and all previously recorded episodes of the Narrator Podcast, wherever you get your podcast sources from. Purchase the Black Card on poetizer.com. Go to the virtual online bookstore. Purchase the Black Card written by me, Halsey Allen. Support Hallzies Poetry Corner. Go to the link, www.mrhalseyblog.com. Share the link for poems featured on Hallzies Poetry Corner across all platforms. Thank you. Your participation is greatly appreciated. Thank you for all your participation and support that you've given me so far. All right. So moving right along, we're going to dive into the synopsis of the Narrator Podcast before I dive into the content. So let's start at the top. Tippy the name. I named my podcast the Narrator Podcast because I don't like the false narrative that the media weaves about original people and original people culture. So what I would do to counter the way the media inaccurately and divisively portrays our people's images and our likenesses across all forms of media is to design a platform where I'm showcasing and highlighting us at our best, and also creating an atmosphere where I'm promoting positive reinforcement of our people and our culture in the effort to shift the paradigm about the way we're being represented across all media platforms. So I'm trying to, change the narrative, hence the title, The Narrative Podcast. The mission statement of the Narrative Podcast is to bring awareness to the listening audience of why it's important to responsibly utilize our platforms to share information about our people and our culture. And by our people and our culture, I mean black people and black culture, or as I refer to our people on this platform, I refer to our people as original people, and I get more on why I refer to our people as original people a little bit later on in the segment. But yeah, that's the mission statement of the Narrative Podcast. Something else you need to be aware of is I call my target listening audience my narrators. And the reason why I call, my target listening audience my narrators is just basically, you can just, type in the definition of narrator. It means a person that illustrates a story verbally. They're just telling a story, a storyteller. That's, basically what a narrator is. They're just letting you, giving the reader, if it's a book, full context on, what's happening. If it's a play, setting up the scene, giving the person viewing the content full context about what's happening or what's about to transpire, in that scene. But essentially, they're just telling a story. So when I'm referring to my target listening audience, I'm just meaning tell our story as a people. That's the job of a narrator, is to, share the story of our people across, all digital platforms, like whatever platform you're on. Just tell the story of our people on your platform and tell it from a positive perspective. And the reason why you want to tell it from the positive perspective, or give positive frames of reference about our people and our culture, is because the media gives us and people outside of our culture negative frames of reference about our people and our culture. So that's why I call my target listening audience my narrators, and their job as narrators is basically to share positive frames of reference about our people and our culture across all, platforms. Like whatever platform you occupy, just, upload positive frames of reference about our people and our culture. And that's why I call my target listening audience my narrators. So which brings me to my next point, or actually, I kind of jumped ahead of myself. I usually insert this before I tell people why I call my target listening audience my narrators, but been kind of a long week, a lot of stuff going on in the world and in my life. Basically, the whole goal of the Narrator podcast is to share positive frames of reference about our people and our culture, and to encourage the listening audience to do the same. So the tagline for the Narrator podcast goes like this: the Narrator podcast, changing the narrative one episode at a time by destroying negative stereotypes about original people and original people culture. How do I destroy the negative stereotypes about our people and our culture? By providing positive frames of reference about our people and our culture, hence the title, the Narrator podcast. All right. So, next thing you need to be aware of about the Narrator podcast, this is a positive space. I don't engage in any negativity, gossip, slander, name calling, roasting and all that. This isn't the place for any of that. I'm not with the nonsense or the foolishness. Now, I'm not super duper strict with my content. I laugh and crack a little joke here and there, but it's never intentionally mean-spirited, or it ain't like they would care if they knew. They probably would see it coming a mile away, so it's never to denigrate anybody. If something happened that's funny, I'ma laugh. Like, just like you guys would kind of laugh. But essentially, this podcast is a safe space for original people. It's basically designed to uplift and edify our people through positive frames of reference about our people and our culture, and also to promote positive reinforcement of our people and our culture. It isn't to, denigrate, to shame, to make people feel bad about themselves. It's supposed to uplift and edify our people, to fill you with pride, to fill you with joy, to fill you with pleasantry, and to listen to something positive as opposed to something negative. That's the purpose of the Narrator podcast. Now, I do speak about current events on this platform. I do talk about things that's, has gone viral on the internet, currently breaking news globally, breaking news nationally, or just things within our community that's happening. And the purpose of me delivering commentaries is basically to, break it down from our perspective, what that means to us as a people, how that correlates and translates to our lives and lifestyles, because the media will go out of its way to have us looking and sounding all kinds of crazy. And so basically, when I'm commentating on an issue, I'm commentating from a space of the bigger picture. And typically, when anything negative happens in our community, two main factors are at place. It's either, systemic oppression or psychological programming and conditioning. So, like, when I'm commentating on somebody from our community, because unfortunately, that's most of the time when somebody from our community is on television, it's for something negative. Now, it could be a regular person from our community or an entertainer from our community. But whatever it is, it's usually for something negative. And so when I'm commentating on that, that's how I frame up the scenario, how I try to break it down, and just really try to show you all the elements at work for whatever they're in the news for that's negative. Now, from the systematic oppression side of it, it's about like how the system is structured to mess with our money, our economics, our social status, our social standing, residential housing and business opportunities, business advancements, all things financial. They really try to block us from wealth, financial wealth. They try to block us from progressing in life, getting to that next level. They try to make it as difficult as possible. So, that's that causes some mental glitches when the game's rigged and why it's rigged. Then on the psychological programming and conditioning side of it, we're being programmed and conditioned by the powers that shouldn't be through all forms of media, through the news, through movies, television shows, literature, all forms of media, portraying our people's images and likenesses in a negative way, altering our perception of ourselves. you know, in a negative way. How we see ourselves, how we respond and interact to each other and people outside of our culture. It's like we've been programmed and conditioned to be violent and aggressive, to be hostile. And then all those other negative stereotypes they say about us, to be lazy, to be, engaging in degenerate behavior, debaucherous behavior, to be embodying these negative stereotypes and stigmas that they place over our people. The angry black man stereotype, the angry black woman stereotype, the gangbanger, the drug dealer, the drug user, the pimp, the whore, so on and so forth. That's because they program and condition us to normalize and rationalize that type of behavior. So that's how I try to frame things up when I'm commentating on the Narrator podcast. It's never ever to, try to make light of the individual situations that is going through something negative. It's never to laugh at them. It's just basically, trying to break it down and just, show all the elements at place as to why that's happening, why they're in the news for whatever negative thing is happening to them. So yeah, Narrator Podcast is a safe space for original people and original people culture. So like I said, it's all about positivity and positive reinforcement on the Narrator Podcast. Next thing you should need to be aware of the Narrator Podcast is that I refer to our people, or the Narrator Podcast is a time-sensitive platform. I try not to exceed 1 hour per broadcast. And the purpose of me doing that is basically to keep the listening audience's attention. We have so many things going on in the world, and I'm pretty sure in your home, to distract or divert your attention. Like, you can get distracted on your phone, playing games, read a book, eat a meal, whatever, house noises, your children, your device, microwave timer, whatever. So longer story short, I can't keep your attention if I'm boring you to death. So I try to make my content short, brief, and to the point so that it resonates with you better. It's more digestible, and it has a valid point to it. I don't want to just have content where I'm talking just to be talking. I want to present, the issues. I want to engage your intellect, engage all your senses, or as many senses as an audio platform allows me to engage. Provide you with some material that you can think critically about. Get proactive on, because I'm always delivering, breaking news stuff, we probably didn't hear about, because we have so much other stuff happening in the world. Also, when I come across ways to empower yourself as an individual, I share that on this platform. So, information that could provide useful to yourself as an original person to empower yourself to do whatever you want to in life. You know, I'm presenting that on this platform, and you know, I just try to keep it short, brief, and to the point so you can remember it, reflect on it, retain it, and apply the knowledge that you gather on this platform. Because, like, if I'm just talking the talk, it's just going to be in one ear, out the other. It's just going to sound like wah, 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 wah. And I don't want to be that guy. So I want my content to be purposeful and meaningful. And so that's why I try to just keep it short, brief, and to the point. I have speaking points to all my sections, and I try to time all my sections as well. And then last but not least, about the Narrator podcast, is I refer to our people as original people. I refer to our people as original people instead of calling us black, because it's just more impactful, it's more empowering. It's also, you know, well, for a couple reasons, but mostly it's just powerful, it's impactful, it resonates better, it got a better, you know, it rolls off the tongue better, you just feel better about yourself. Not that there's anything wrong with being black, but black is not really, you know, it's not a country, it's not a nationality. If we're talking flesh tone, none of us are actually black. We have some extremely dark-skinned people within our culture, but not black. But, you know, original, I call ourselves, our people as, I refer to our people as original people in terms of history. It's historically accurate. We were and are the original people of this planet, of this world. You know, we was here first, thousands of years before everybody. Everybody originated from our DNA. We also originated all modern day inventions. You name something that we currently use or utilize on a daily basis, you can almost 90% of the time trace it back to our people. There ain't nothing new under the sun. There was probably an ancient version of it, or, you know, an older prototype of it. We originated everything. We originated all forms of music. We originated pretty much all forms of architecture. We were the original architects. We were the original educators, philosophers, astronomers, astrologists, biologists, chemists, scientists, mathematicians, like you name it, we did it. If we was here first, you know, just common sense wise, we originated everything. Somebody had to be the first, and it was us. Nothing beats the first. You know, you need that first thing to show you, you know, to be the benchmark for everything to come after it. And we were first. So civilization, we benchmark civilization. Nothing could exist in this world without our people. We originated everything. That's on the historical side of it, on why I refer to our people as original people. The next reason is to unify us as a people, because we all refer to ourselves as so many things. You know, a whole lot of us cling on to our land masses, We're loyal to our nationalities, We want to say, I'm Jamaican, I'm Nigerian, I'm from the islands, I'm from the Bahamas, I'm from the Virgin Islands, I'm from the Caribbeans, I'm the this, the that, I'm from Canada, blah, 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 blah. But people outside of our culture, they just look at us and be like, oh, you're black. Somebody German, living in Germany, they look at somebody and be like, oh, you're black guy. Somebody in Europe, somebody French, they look at somebody like, hey, you black. But we are the only people that make those types of distinctions amongst ourselves. We be like, I'm this, I'm that. Political affiliations, religion, spirituality. But at the end of the day, everybody outside of our culture just refers to ourselves, our people, as black. So original is a perfect universal term to describe us as a people. Because as I said, there's nothing more empowering or impactful as being first, usually. I mean, there's an exception to every rule. Like, nobody wants to be the first to be unalived. Yeah, skip that. Nobody wants to be the first to lose everything. Nobody wants to be the first to go to jail, but, for the most part, nothing trumps being first. And we, as a people, we were all first. We were here first. We was the original. So, universally speaking, we were all first. So no matter where you're from, no matter what language you speak, no matter what nationality that you claim, if you have the Negroid gene in your DNA, you are an original man or an original woman. Period, point blank. That supersedes your nationality, that supersedes your geographical landmass that you're located on, that supersedes your political affiliation, that supersedes your language you speak, all that. So, that's why I refer to our people as original people to, attempt to unify us as a people. It's just a universal thing we can refer to ourselves as, because we all possess, high concentrations of carbon, aka melanin. We can all trace our lineage back to the original spot for all civilization, and we can all be relating to each other non-verbally. Like, we can just, automatically know what each one of us are going through or have went through in their lives. So we connect with each other from a non-verbal perspective. Now, one last thing before I wrap this synopsis of the Narrative Podcast up is, I want to just point out a false narrative that the powers shouldn't be has created to divide us as a people, to disorient us as a people. They want to sit up here and try to appoint slavery as the most definitive time of our people's existence. They want to appoint slavery as the most transformative time of our existence. And here's a couple of reasons why that's so wrong on so many levels. So first and foremost, the first most important reason is we had a whole identity before the concept of slavery was ever thought of. We were here first. We were the first beings in the world. We roamed everywhere freely on our own free will, on our own free accord. Not only was we here first, we was the first civilization to be advanced. Advanced meaning we created languages, we created tools, we built things. We were highly advanced, sophisticated beings. We wasn't dwelling in caves. We wasn't grunting, we wasn't hunched over, we were standing fully erect, being great, being omnipotent, being who we are, gods and goddesses, kings and queens of the universe. Masters of all we surveyed. But they want to fast forward that and just, play up a time within our lives where, control, we didn't have complete dominion over ourselves. We didn't have full autonomy over our lives. But before slavery, we had full autonomy of our lives. So they basically just perpetuate the idea of slavery to generate fear, to stoke fears, to keep us in a fearful mindset, and also to cause dissension amongst our people, because we got this ongoing debate with a whole lot of our brothers and sisters from Africa. Some of them be like, you're not our brothers and y'all not our sisters, y'all weak, y'all got caught in the slave trade, and y'all wasn't warriors, y'all not like us. And then us on our side of it was like, well, yeah, we not like you. And y'all know what? Y'all guys are cowards. Y'all knew we was enslaved. You didn't try to come and get us. You borrowed everything you got is because of us. So that's that divide between our people. So now we're, culturally separated. And then also, some more inaccuracies about slavery is the overall perception that we all came to wherever we're located in the world on slave boats, when that's absolutely impossible. If we was here first, if we existed before everybody, does not extend the reason we was already located wherever we're currently residing at. So here in the Americas, for instance, we didn't all come over here on a slave boat. The majority of us was already here. The majority of us was already here in Central America. The majority of us was already located in the Mediterranean. The majority of us was already located on the continent of Asia. Germany. I can go on and on and on. Even North Pole and South Pole. There was already large concentrations of our people located, dwelling on every single corner of the globe you can think about. Because they was there thousands of years before slavery ever took place. But yet, they want to say we all came on, they want to make this big generalization saying we all came from wherever we're located in the world on a slave boat. That's just not true. Another untrue thing, that we owned slaves. We didn't own slaves. We had, indentured servants. We didn't treat our indentured servants mean. We didn't brutalize them. We didn't sodomize them. We didn't decapitate them. We didn't castrate them. We treated them like above average intelligent beings and respected them, and just like, hey, for the most part they were just employees working off a debt. That's what indentured servitude is. You're just working off a debt. I mean, if you wanted to get technical about society, especially here in the America, in the Americas, we're all, especially here in the United States, we're all indentured servants of the United States of America. We working off a debt. Some of us end up working until we leave out of this physical plane. So yeah, that's just all I really want to point out. I point that little false narrative about slavery on every segment of the Narrative Podcast, because that's what this podcast is all about: changing the narrative, setting things right that are wrong within our culture with positive frames of reference. So I always got to drive that home, that we are greater, our people are greater than just slaves. While slavery happened, that's just not the most definitive part of our history, but that's the part of history that they like to dwell on. They want to recycle the trauma of slavery. That's why they spend so many billions of dollars in Hollywood making movies about slavery. They know what they're doing. They want to just sow that, psychological seed to mentally break us, to, in an attempt for us to subconsciously accept not having free will. Like, oh, well, that wasn't that bad. They want to perpetuate the image of the docile slave. They want to perpetuate the, oh, yes, master, yes, boss, I have to do it. They want to perpetuate that. But they don't want to see, the images of us being strong rulers. Then when you see on the flip side of it, all the movies made about Egypt, all the people were whites. The time when we were rulers in that region of the world, all the positive visual images of our people living in that time and in that region of the world are portrayed as whites. But, in movies about slavery, that's how they want to portray our people. So, again, I'm just going to, trying to point out the false narrative of slavery. This isn't a slight against my brothers and sisters from Africa. Like, we're not appalled by the notion of our African lineage. We can all trace our lineage back to Africa, but sidebar, the intellectual debate is, where was Africa originally located? And many believe it was originally located in North America. But anyway, that's not a slight, like I said, against my African brothers and sisters. That's just saying that we know our history. We know who we are as a people. We know we didn't all get to wherever we're at on the slave boat, or if we don't, we should know that. We also know we didn't just, our ancestors just didn't take slavery. Like, we never tried to gain our own freedom. We never had uprisings. The only uprising they want to record is the Haitian Revolution, which was massive. But, there was uprisings right here in the North America all throughout slavery. But it's not highly chronicled in most literature about slavery in North America. They want us to believe we only had one Nat Turner, we only had one Harriet Tubman. You don't think we was like slaughtering these people for doing the unspeakable things that they was doing to our people? They want to try to keep the truth hidden, buried from us. So we got to dig and find it. And the knowledge is out there. You just have to do your own due diligence. But, we're not going for the false narrative of slavery. Not around here. But anyway, that's all. Now you should be thoroughly caught up with the concept of the Narrative Podcast. Now we're going to dive on into the content of the Narrative Podcast. This is a weekend edition. On my weekend edition of the Narrative Podcast, I have 5 sections of content. I broadcast during the weekday and the weekend. During the weekday, I only have 2 sections, and during the weekend, I have 5. Now, the purpose of the Narrative Podcast is to share positive frames of reference about our people and our culture. So my positive frame of reference focal point during the weekday is positive news articles. During the weekend, my focal point or positive frame of reference about our people and our culture are stories about business ownership. The reason why I'm giving the positive frame of business ownership is because we have so very few frames of reference as a people when it comes to owning your own business. The very few frames of reference of business owners that we're given usually these days come in the form of scripted reality television. And it gets lost in translation on scripted reality television shows. It gets overshadowed by the producer's image or the producer's vision. And so they want to visualize ratings. And the way to get the ratings is to sell degeneracy. That's what they want to capture on camera. They want to capture us being messy. They want to capture us being as messy as possible. So, they often film our people fighting each other, engaging in legal and illegal substances on camera, overindulging in alcohol, lewd, raunchy behavior. This is magnified on these scripted reality television shows. But what gets glazed over is the stars of these scripted reality television shows are already well-established businessmen and businesswomen with existing, flourishing brands. So they're usually entertainers that have several other companies underneath their entertainment brand. So like, for instance, if they're a recording artist, and it's usually like an R&B singer or a rapper on these scripted reality television shows, what they'll focus on is, all the negative points, of their career. Catching them in ultra rare form, physically fighting each other, just acting and speaking unintelligently. But they have these $1 million corporations. They have like over 1,000 employees under each one of their business entities. But that doesn't get captured on camera. They just want to catch them basically doing some ignorant nigga-ish on these scripted reality television shows. So that's why I provide the positive frame of reference about business ownership. And what I'm doing in this section is I'm walking you through the journey of the business owner, how they established their brand, the name of their brand, what year they started, how they came up with the idea, a little bit about background information about the person that started the business, such as where they grew up, with what state they grew up in, which city they grew up in, educational background, if they went to college, what college did they go to, and how do they get on the track of being a business owner. I'm walking you through that whole experience, giving you that positive frame of reference about business ownership, because we're constantly being bombarded with negative images by the media, negative news, negative television shows. We're never shown successful business owners being positive. So I'm walking you through a business owner's journey in a positive way. And as a matter of fact, I call that section the highlight section. And I call it the highlight section because I'm just giving you the highlights of their life, their personal life, and their highlights of how they started their business. Now, the qualifying factors that I use to highlight the business owners in the highlight section fall under these categories. First, of course, they're original men and original women. They generally own the business, from the top to the bottom. They didn't get any outside investors. It's all their money. They hire their own. They do some type of community outreach. They either pay into a nonprofit organization or they have their very own nonprofit organization. And then lastly, my last qualifying factor for the business owners that I'll be highlighting in the highlight section is that their business coincides with my theme. And my running theme for the highlight section of the Narrator Podcast Weekend Edition is nationally recognized days. So now that you know what the highlight section is all about, we're going to dive on into the first business that I'll be highlighting in the highlight section on this weekend edition of the Narrator Podcast. So today's business is a business that coincides with the nationally recognized day. Today is September 28th, and today's nationally recognized day is, hold on to your hats, it's the actual thing, International Day for Universal Access to Information Day. And the businesses that I'll be highlighting that commemorate this day, that I think commemorate this day, are businesses that utilize digital technology. And so today I'll be highlighting original people owned and operated businesses that specialize in wireless communications. So yeah, basically like internet providers. That's what I'll be highlighting today in the highlight section of the Narrative Podcast. I want to make a small disclaimer. Now, like I said, the intention of the highlight section is to walk you through an entrepreneur's journey. I'm trying to give you the most specific details of their lives as possible. But sometimes you just can't find that personal information on the internet. When you do your research, sometimes it's just not readily available. So when I was researching these businesses, like, I like to try to, tell you the founders, bio, what state they grew up, what city they grew up in, state and city, where they attended school, how they came up with the concept of their business. I want to walk you through from the prototype phase all the way up to the finished product stage of their business. But sometimes that information isn't readily available. And this week, that information was not readily available on all these businesses that I'll be highlighting this week. So it's going to be super duper brief and to the point. But, without any further ado, we're going to dive into the highlight section today on the Narrative Podcast with the first business. The first business I'll be highlighting on the highlight section of the Narrative Podcast Weekend Edition is a business by the name of Culture Wireless. Culture Wireless is available online at culturewireless.com. They were established in the pandemic, so they came up with the concept during the pandemic lockdown of 21. So by the time they perfected it, it was last year. By the time they had all the building blocks in place, but they came up with the concept in 21. So I did do my research. So 2 or 3 articles I came across, seen a few articles that said 21, seen a few articles that said 23. So it's established between the years of 21 through 23, and it had you know, a team of professionals that collaborated with one another to make this business possible. And the proprietors of this business is brothers by the name of Vernell Woods, William Bam Starks, Jerome Howard, and Al Adjohe. I believe he's Nigerian. I'm going to spell his last name because I don't know if I'm pronouncing it correctly. Adjahoe. So basically they partnered with AT&T during the pandemic to provide affordable internet services for underserved communities that got impacted during the pandemic, and obviously they're still in operation today. Their mission statement basically is to just get you right, get you some affordable internet. We're living in the digital information age. Unless you plan on living off the grid, you need, I'm going to say it again, you need a digital connection, a strong digital connection. You need Wi-Fi to access information. You need, the internet to do pretty much things like if you're a 9-to-5 employee, even if you're like working in warehouses now, many of these warehouses require their employees to do certain aspects of their job online, training online to make sure they're in compliance with state and federal regulations. They'll have like little, learning things that you have to go online and complete tasks every week to stay in compliance with your job. So you need the internet is what I'm saying. So, that's how they got together. They said, hey, our people is the most impacted by the pandemic. We need the internet. We don't have access to the internet because the internet costs money. A lot of our communities are, low income. How do we connect to the internet? How do we, because a lot of our children, they have to do stuff online. They have to do Zoom classes, Zoom business meetings. If you're trying to, look for a job. Many of the employers now, since the pandemic, you'll have to Zoom meeting you because they're not going to try to risk possibly contracting the virus for a candidate that they might, they're looking at 20, 40, 50 people a day. They don't want to run the risk of contracting something, talking to you, and you might not even be a good fit for the job. So a whole lot of employers these days are doing Zoom interviews. So you got to have a device or, a way to connect to the internet to do the Zoom interviews nowadays. Businesses are still doing Zoom meetings. So that was their, purpose behind creating this business, is just to make people in our community aware of the federal programs that was in place offering reduced rate wireless internet, and then just basically expounding on that need for wireless internet and making it accessible to people within our community. They also, the way they give back to the community is they have a program with HBCUs where they're giving internships from people from HBCUs to learn, wireless communication skills to intern for their company. And then also they have franchise opportunities once they've completed their internship. Now they focus more on price. So their basically overall goal is just to get you set up with internet. Now their packages, their least expensive package is $55 a month, free installation. Their most expensive package is $75 a month. Also free installation. They also have a business pack for people that own their own businesses and need their business set up with wireless service, so their patrons can have free Wi-Fi. Now the $55 is 100 megabytes per second. That's their least expensive package. Their most expensive package is 1 gigabyte per second. So their main thing they got going on with that particular one is just broadband connections. If you want to know more, go check them out at culturewireless.com. They're also available across all platforms, all social media platforms. They got Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, culturewireless.com, and that's our people owned and operated, original people owned and operated wireless network. They have 24-hour support, and if you ever need any assistance, call 1-212-425-8617, and if you have any specific questions, call hello@telecom.com. I not call write hello@telecom.com. So yes, as I said, there wasn't a whole lot of information about the proprietors of the business, other than they were already friends in Atlanta. The only article I found that said they had been friends for years, and they just wanted to come together to help the community, because our community was like heavily impacted from the pandemic. A lot of people, lost their businesses, and a whole lot of our children wasn't receiving proper education because they couldn't log on to the internet to do the Zoom classes for their children. So that's why the business was formed. But I didn't have any personal information about each one of the gentlemen, like where they went to school, and how they became friends, and the prototype phase of the company. It just wasn't readily available, so I gave you the highlights of the highlight section. But that's it, and that's all for that particular business. Join me into giving a warm narrative podcast round of applause for Verno Woods, William Van Sparks, Jerome Howard, and Al at Doje at Culture Wireless. All right, next business I'll be highlighting on the highlight section. This business is all the way in Africa. This is called Net K. Now, it would be cool if it was here available in the United States and abroad, but it's only currently available in Africa. But I think it's dope that it's 100% original people owned and operated. They don't have any outside investors. They're not partnered with anybody. This is a totally organic company for our people. And then, fun fact, it's a false narrative about Africa. How Africa is portrayed, globally using the media. It's like a broken third world country. They always want to show these poor villages with like insects teeming around, the people. They want to show them in loincloths and with sickness in their belly, with the belly poking out. And Africa is just like, it's a modern continent. The big cities are super duper modern, are vastly superior to some of our cities here in America. So it stands to reason that they would have an excellent wireless communications company. But anyway, it was established in the 90s. There's no data on who founded it. It just said it was a collaboration. So it was a team of people that got together, a co-op, if you will. The company's mission statement or vision is to be an internet service provider of choice for sustainable and integrated socio-economic activities through reliable and affordable connectivity. Their mission statement is to be a communications and internet service provider of choice, serving private and public customers, including previously disadvantaged communities and underserved regions of South Africa. Their value system listed as follows: integrity, accountability, honesty, and respect. Now, their physical address obviously is in Africa. It's 20 Donald Road, Vincent, East London, East Cape, South Africa. Inquiries and to reach them directly, whether you have inquiries or you just want to ask about service or sign up for service, is 2743-289-0011. I know we're in the States, but some of us do want to go back to Africa. We got a whole lot of Pan-Africans living in North America. They want to go back, or want to go there, should I say, because like I said, all of us ain't from Africa, but a whole lot of us want to go back. So that's the option to go back. And when you go back, that's the wireless company you should pick. Some other cool features about their service is that it's free installations, 6 megabytes per second, and that's really just about all. So to find out more about Netk, log on to netk.co.za today. Now, did that sound professional or what? netk.co.za today. Free installation. Operators are standing by now. All right. Join me into giving NetK a Warm Narrative podcast round of applause for being 100% owned and operated by original people. All right, and last but not least, on the highlight section of the Narrator podcast, I will be highlighting a business by the name of Big Black Internet. That's right. It's simple and to the point. You don't get no more clearer than that. Big Black Internet. To find out more about it, log on to bigblackinternet.com. Big Black Internet was established just last year in 23. The founder of Big Black Internet is a young brother by the name of Armando McFadden, aka DJ Mondoing It, Mondoent. So I'm guessing it's Mon doing it, like, yeah, Mon's doing it. His mission statement is to help people get fast internet while helping the world be a better place. Armando is the founder and president. He's a DJ and artist, computer science major. He got a major in computer science. He's a computer science programmer and a full-time researcher. Now what they focus on is broadband, fiber optic, satellite internet, internet, web hosting, UPN, virtual, private, and networks. Internet bundles, started as low as $59.99. They have cable and cable TV at $249. They have also VR games and NFT platforms, and they also have a merch. Big Black Internet skateboards. So go check them out. It's only been around this year. They're growing. So far, they have all types of internship programs. And when I logged on to Reddit, it seems this brother is of the Christian faith. So he has Christian values. That's how he selects people that he chooses to let work for him. They align up with his faith and his values. I want honest people with integrity, passionate, driven. So he's kind of like on some change the world type stuff. So go check it out, bigblackinternet.com. Join me in the giving our brother Armando McFadden, DJ Mondoing It, a Warm Narrative podcast. Round of applause for Big Black Internet. All right. So next on the Narrator podcast, my next section I'll be presenting is the Spotlight section. And the Spotlight section basically is a section where I'm promoting positive reinforcement. I feel the need to have this section because, unfortunately, our people, we devote so much time into being negative on, digital spaces. Online, we're super negative towards one another. So in the highlights, or the Spotlight section, What I'm doing is I'm promoting positive reinforcement. I'm congratulating someone's effort from our communities, from impacting our community with their efforts in a positive way. So I'm congratulating somebody for doing something positive. And, you know, the reason why I feel I need to do that is just because it's incentivized for our people to be negative towards one another online. We hurl insults, we take cheap shots at each other, we argue, we bicker back and forth. And these Fortune 500 companies, they just sit up getting fat off of us, going in on each other on the internet. These faceless corporations incentivize our demise online. They incentivize us, talking bad about each other, giving people a platform to talk reckless, sliding people a bag to goat people into arguing with them online. That's what these faceless corporations do. In whole time, we can get paid online being positive, saying nice things about your brothers and your sisters, and celebrating their accomplishments and achievements, and, cheering for them, rooting for them, being there for them in their time of need, if they're in need. But no, we tear each other down and talk bad about each other. We're not the only group that does it, so let's not fall into that trick bag. We're definitely not the only group of people that talk bad about each other online, but the focal point, we are the focal point of all things negative on the internet. And the reason why is because we're so impactful and dynamic. Everybody wants to copy off of us. Everybody wants to act like us and be like us in some capacity. And again, the media has warped and distorted everybody's perception of our people, about how they look at us, about how we view each other and talk to each other and interact with one another and react to one another. So basically said all that to say, we've been psychologically programmed and conditioned to take jabs at each other, talk bad, and try to, tear each other down. But the spotlight section, again, is just a section where I'm promoting positive reinforcement. Just giving somebody their roses for doing something positive for our community. In the past, when I first started doing this section, I just try to reserve it only for entertainers, like ranging from recording artists to people in the field of acting, comedians, social media influencers, public figures, that type of deal, athletes. But as of late, I've just really been trying to spotlight regular people. And the reason why I'm trying to spotlight regular people is just my effort to break that negative stereotype that all our people know how to do is to entertain. So lately I've just been spotlighting regular people. Now last week I spotlighted a social media influencer. But I'm thinking I might start spotlighting celebrities again, because our celebrities in our communities, unfortunately, they get raked over the coals when something negative is happening in their life. When they're in the news for something negative, they get crucified. But when they're doing something positive that impacts our community in a positive way, there's not a camera in sight. You know, it's really rare that we know about our entertainers, you know, charitable deeds that they do for our community. We're only there for the negativity and the messiness. You know, they'll sit up there and milk the story for 8-9 months if, like, say, somebody in our community, entertainer in our community does something negative, like whether it's cheating on their wife or girlfriend or boyfriend, husband, whatever, or, you know, got in a fight or trouble with the law or whatever. It's like, it'd be 8-9 months of that. But when they do something good, you never hear from them. So I might said all that to say I might start spotlighting celebrities again. But, you know, this week is just a regular person. But so just to reiterate, the spotlight section is just basically a section where I'm promoting positive reinforcement. This section is basically a section, you know, saying all heroes don't wear capes. You know, we have decent people within our community. That's the purpose of the spotlight section, is to shine the spotlight on somebody from our community doing something that positively impacts our community in a positive way. And not for nothing, your brother, me, Halsey Allen, created the wave for spotlighting. Because before I added a spotlight section to my podcast, the Narrative Podcast, nobody was spotlighting anybody. Now, spotlighting has become super trendy. Like, it's even revered in product reviews. That's how, like, popular spotlighting is now. Now even people trying to sell you something are spotlighting. Today we'll be spotlighting the whatever 900 series of the blase brand. But like, you know, people that got YouTube channels, people that got their own podcast series, like when they're interviewing guests today, we got so and so on the spotlight section, or we'll be spotlighting this person, that person. Nobody was spotlighting anybody until, like, I made it a whole thing. And that's facts. And you can fact check by going through my episode log, doing your little cross-checking and seeing, you know, how many other platforms was like spotlighting. You can even just, like, you know, Google, type in the browser and see like how many pages you get for the word spotlight. Anyway, I created the way for spotlighting. So, as the old saying goes, imitation is the best form of flattery. I'm flattered that so many people now are spotlighting. Because before I created the way for it, nobody was doing it. It makes me feel good because, you know, this is a thing to be positive in our community. So to see so many people dedicating their platforms to say something positive about another brother or sister instead of something slick and mean and hateful about a brother or sister, that makes me feel good. And another thing about the internet it makes the world small. So like when you're doing anything online, regardless of the stats, you can have 0 views. Your stats, your algorithm could say 0. You just like they have you thinking in your mind nobody's viewing your content or listening. As my case would be listening, because I'm an audio platform. But famous people are listening to my platform and taking the example that I'm sitting on my platform and running with it. And I know they're doing it because how I know is they incorporate my content into their content. Not only do they incorporate my content into their content, they incorporate my personality into their content. So they're not just listening to what I say, they're listening to the way I say it. All my nuances, the way I talk, the way I accentuate certain words, the way I pause and stop. They're doing that in their content. So basically said all that to say, I know like when famous people are looking, like if I was in it for acknowledgement, I would have stopped a long time ago. If I was in it for money, I'd have stopped a long time ago. But it's all with this thing, it's all relative, it's all a trickle down theory. I'm doing something righteous. I already know it's coming back around. It's being reciprocated in the form of everybody taking my example, running with it. So more good things is coming for me on the way, but like a lot of famous, influential people listen to me, is what I'm saying. That's just how impactful and dynamic I'm being on my platform to like get people to listen to me. That I'm saying some real ish. And they're listening every week. They wait. They let me know that they listen every week. They just haven't publicly came out and been like, yeah, I mess with the Narrator podcast. Halsey Allen, that, he's alright. I listen to him. I rock with him. Whatever. They ain't stamping me, but I know they're listening. But anyway, on to this week's spotlight here on the Narrator podcast. This week, on the spotlight section of the Narratives podcast, I'll be spotlighting. Oh, and then one more thing about the spotlight section is I rotate genders every week. So meaning one week I'll spotlight a female, and then the next week after that I'll spotlight a male. So it's like everybody gets a fair turn. It's just like I'm not just only spotlighting all men. I'm not only spotlighting sisters. Like, just give everybody a fair turn. But this week, last week I spotlighted the sisters. So this week I'm spotlighting the brother. This week, the spotlight goes to a brother by the name of Michael Wright, and it's Michael with a Y. And this brother was born and raised in St. Paul, Minneapolis. He's done a lot of work in the Shelby area of Minneapolis. He is a community activist and an entrepreneur. He is most notably recognized by the community as an organizer for the Shelby Avenue Jazz Festival. And what that is, it's an annual celebration of music in Minneapolis. And this year they highlighted neo soul. It also is a place where it provides a platform for artists to showcase their talents. So, like, it's a festival basically, and so like musicians, singers, rappers, people doing like actual art, sculptures, and being creative, just showcasing their creativity where they probably would not have had a voice, like people doing t-shirts, vendors, different various food vendors. So everything is an art form. So basically the jazz festival is kind of like a art festival as well. It engages all the senses, but it primarily centers around the celebration of music. And he is the head organizer of that annual event. He's also used to be he was on the board of Shelby Action Coalition, and I say was because it exists no more. But he's still doing activism in the on the block of Shelby Avenue in Minnesota. And he also was an owner of a coffee shop / co-op called Golden Time Coffee Shop. And what that was well, self-implied in the title. It was a coffee shop for people around the way in that particular neighborhood. They had a lot of food deserts, so some just it was a vibe spot. Go there, get yourself some coffee, cold pressed juice. If you don't like coffee, tea. Vibe and hang out, sandwiches, wraps, listen to some live music. The live music was jazz, and I think that's really important because we need to reclaim our music. Jazz, we created that, and a lot of people that don't look like us right now are dominating the art form of jazz, because primarily it's not taught in public schools anymore. There used to be jazz choirs, swing choirs back in the day in schools, jazz bands in school, the musical instruments for jazz, and it's just like over the centuries it's kind of got finagled from us. And so now when you go to these jazz spots, it's a whole bunch of people that don't look like us dominating that genre of music. And by people that don't look like us, I mean white people. Now, the interesting thing about our people is we say music is music. We don't care. We don't care what color you are. If you're good at, music, whatever genre you're in, we'll support you. So if you're a musician and you're white, we'll listen to you. We don't care. Who was that white guy? There was a jazz musician. He was big in the early 90s. I'm trying to think of his name. He used to play like a sax or something. I think he used to play like a sax. No, it wasn't Clinton. Clinton did play a sax, but that's not who I'm thinking about. It's right on the tip of my tongue. What is that guy's name? Kenny G? Kenny G. Yeah, we supported Kenny G. We loved him. We love anybody that don't look like us. We'll support their art form if they're good at it. We make not only support their art form, we make them the biggest stars of that art form if they're good at it. Through our patronage of it. Meaning we'll buy all their music, we'll promote them, and you better not say nothing bad about them. For example, Pink, the singer Pink, when she came out, the hip-hop community supported Pink. Like, she had, her biggest hit of her career was a collabo with Eve. But, she was in the R&B pocket. She was kind of in the neo-soul pocket, kind of in the pop pocket. Hip-hop and, all the art forms that are traditionally our music. But then after she established success, commercial success, she backed up and said, I was never R&B. I wasn't, the industry, they pushed me into trying to be hip-hop. I was always punk. I represented punk. Married a, guy that was hard rock and went back to that genre. But the point I was trying to make, she got traction from hip-hop. And we loved her. We supported her. Nobody said nothing. Another one, Kid Rock. He got his traction through hip-hop. We loved Kid Rock. He did like collabos with so many greats in hip-hop. But then when his commercial success came and all these Fortune 500 companies started investing in his brand, I'm rock and roll. I'm American rock and roll at that. Another art form that our people created. But the type of rock and roll he was talking about was the type of rock and roll that people that don't look like us play. After he got the traction with hip hop. I'm setting this scene up just to let you know where I'm going with it. Now fast forward to 24. Beyonce knows Carter. Got the biggest country music album to date. I mean, more popular than all the greats of, people that don't look like us. She outsold all of them. And then, fun fact, our people created country western music, but it got finagled away from us. They took it from us. They just straight up just took country western from us and said it ain't y'all's music, it's our music. And matter of fact, to let us know, it's now that they now run it. They even named it Honky Tonk. But we created country music. But yet they snubbed Beyonce. They treated her like she wasn't supposed to be in her house. What Run DMC say? Whose house? Our house is music. We created all genres of music. Music could not exist without our people. And it all started with the drum, the African drum. Created all forms of music. But specifically like country western music, we created that music. It was like basically like folk music. It was telling stories with the banjo. And then people that didn't look like us heard it, they started doing it and then called it theirs. We're the only people that embrace we embrace everybody. As long as you're good at music, we don't care. We embrace you. No matter what genre of music it is, we'll embrace you. You know, I would say the only people that really kind of stayed humble throughout their career, that know, you know, they openly give tribute to why they were such a massive success and who was supporting them. Well, it's like way more people than that, but the first one that comes to my mind is the Jets. They was like Filipino, they was dominating. And they know our people was 110% behind them. Coke Jam is another one. But they stay humble. They didn't try to be like, you know, the only rapper that hasn't got funny style on us yet is Eminem. He's the only person that don't, he's the only white rapper that ain't really got funny style on us. Like, he's still like Eminem. He ain't never, I don't think he will ever, never not acknowledge all his hip-hop influences, and all his hip-hop influences are black. Now, he's paid tribute to, throughout his career, he's paid tribute to the Beastie Boys, but for pretty much, he's been down, he's been staying loyal to black music. But I just set that scenario up to say, like, when the shoe's on the other foot, like, we appreciate music, period. Like, we don't care what you look like within our culture. We don't care what you look like. Long as you can sing, long as you can play an instrument, we'll support you. But, when it comes to our people, it's not reciprocated. People from other people that don't look like us won't reciprocate. Like, people that, there's black people in techno, there's black people in punk, no support. Black people in country music, no support, no open support. They'll throw that, well, for a black guy or for a black girl, they won't just say they're good, they're great, they're the best that ever did it. Like, we are open to say, like, we're really quick, like, Eminem's the best rapper in the world, we don't care. He can rap his behind off, and I F with Eminem, and if you don't love Eminem, you a hater. We real quick to say that. But in, when the shoe's on the other foot, if it was a different genre of music, they don't give it up like we give it up. They won't even acknowledge that we exist in other genres of music. And the crazy thing is we invented all genres of music. But anyway, I got super duper long-winded. The spotlight section was supposed to be about my brother, Michael Wright. He's an activist, organizer of events. He's been a long time Shelby Avenue representative. Like everything that happens in that area, he's right there on the spot, organizing calls to justice for all injustices of that area in Minnesota. And you know, he's keeping the arts alive with the annual Shelby Avenue Jazz Festival. He's keeping our musical art forms alive: jazz, neo-soul, blues, bebop. Everything is featured at the Jazz Festival. And not just, you know, music. You know, you got performers, dancers. You got poets that attend the festival doing their spoken word poems. So it's just a celebration, and it keeps it going annually every year. They had it in Minnesota around earlier this month, pardon me. Because now we're towards the end of the month. I think this was like the 10th or the 11th where this celebration had went to. But yeah, that's why this brother gets the spotlight section this week on the Narrator podcast for being an activist as well as an organizer to preserve our rich musical history. So join me into giving a Warm Narrative podcast a round of applause for this week's spotlight recipient in the spotlight section on the weekend edition of the Narrative podcast, our brother Michael Wright. So next section of the Narrative podcast, this section is called Health and Wellness. It's self-explanatory. I'm speaking to you about health and wellness tips. And the reason why I'm speaking to my listening audience, and my target listening audience is my people, original people. Now, the target audience is original people, but people outside of our culture, they're more than welcome to listen to my platform. More than welcome to, participate in certain discussions that I have here on this platform. But without a doubt, this section, out of all the sections of the Narrative podcast, is aimed towards original people. And why is it aimed towards our people? Is because our people, out of everybody on the planet, is the most sick people in the world right now. Suffering. We're literally getting unalived on a daily basis. And it's health-related problems. So yes, we do unalive each other, but that's propaganda, again, by the media, having us believe we unalive each other at a higher rate or disproportionately towards other communities. And there's no such thing as black on black crime. Crime is crime. White people kill white people in the white community. Asian people kill Asian people in the Asian community. Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, so on and so forth. But the difference between their communities and our communities is when we do it, it's highly publicized. It's just constantly being recycled and recycled and recycled and recycled and recycled every time we do it. And it stays, constantly in the headlines for weeks, months in some cases, when we do it to each other. But when somebody does it to us, we hear about it for like 30 seconds. But anyway, got a little long-winded. This is the health and wellness section. These tips are designed to help original people stay healthy, active, and fit, and live prosperous lifestyles. And basically I'm giving tips to our people to fortify themselves in all the areas that we need it. And we need it physically, mentally, and spiritually. So I'm giving tips, health and wellness tips that'll fortify you mentally, physically, and spiritually. And why all those specific places in our lives do we need that? Because, all those specific things. I don't know why I'm stumbling tonight. I never say Pacific. I've never said that. I mean, black people in general, we say Pacific, but not me. I've never, specific. But anyway, it was just a slip of the tongue. But back to what I was saying. Why particularly in those areas that I'm giving the health and wellness tips is because in those areas are all the areas that our people, original people, are being attacked. We're being attacked physically, we're being attacked mentally, we're being attacked spiritually. Physically, they're putting things in the air, in the water, in certain day-to-day use items that we use every single day, such as soap, hand soap, body wash, hand sanitizer, dish soap, cleaning products for the home. Even the lights, certain type of lights we're exposed to on a daily basis, exponentially harms our unique genetic makeup. It rearranges or destroys our unique genetic makeup, meaning it either rearranges our melanin or completely destroys it, as it was designed to do. It was designed to do it. You understand? The harmful food additives that they're putting in the food supply are designed to particularly hurt our people. They hurt everybody, but, they really in there bioengineering the food to hurt our people. The air we're breathing. Do your research on chemtrails. Mentally, we're being attacked. As I already started out the segment, as I started out at the very beginning of the episode, telling you all the psychological things that they're doing to our minds using the media, how they're warping our minds with that, how they're desensitizing us to violence, how they are desensitizing us to degeneracy, trying to get us to accept violence and degeneracy. Not only accept it, rationalizing it, normalizing it, like it's no big deal to see a woman just strutting around outside butt naked. Like it's no big deal for men in our community coming outside with their pants hanging all the way down to their kneecap. Now, butt cleavage is a bit like a normal thing. Don't get me wrong. Butt cleavage is just, everybody has a crack kills moment. Everybody, all body types, from the biggest of the big to the skinniest of the skinniest. Forgot your belt. Like everybody done had their crack exposed at some time, but within our community, that sagging stuff, they got to go. But we've normalized that. We've normalized women in our community showing off their entire breast, coming outside, dairy air exposed. We've normalized violence within our community. We're glorifying gun culture. We're glorifying gang culture. Because we've been psychologically conditioned and programmed to. They're using the media to psychologically program us and condition us and manipulating us into destroying each other. So I give, tips on here to keep us in a good mental health space. Spiritually, we're under spiritual attack. So I give tips to safeguard our spirits. So those are the tips I'm giving. All the areas that our people are being attacked. Health and wellness tips to fortify us in all the areas that we're being attacked. And small disclaimer, I don't appreciate this "we are one" mentality. All one is all love. It is all love. It is all love. If you love, you get love. Love comes back. That's what we're here to do as just beings. We're here to live, learn, and love. That's what we're here for. But at the same time, where we get into trouble is try to push this false narrative that we're all of the same blood, we're all the same, making this dangerous generalization. We're not. We're not all the same. We're all different. We was all designed different for a reason. We should acknowledge the differences and, peacefully cohabitate with each other and live in harmony. But don't make the dangerous mistake saying we're all the same. And it's a dangerous mistake because we're all genetically, I'm talking scientifically now, we're all genetically wired differently. So meaning we all have different dietetic needs. We all have different spiritual needs. We all have different emotional needs. So meaning and it varies from culture to culture. So meaning the health, like the foods and stuff in one culture can sustain that specific culture. I didn't say it again, specific culture that'll maintain them for years, sustain them for years. If they ate a complex starchy diet, there's cultures with complex starchy diets, they'll stay and live eating that complex starchy foods all the way up until they're like 105. But somebody else from a different culture, they try to eat their starchy diet for just 2 or 3 days. And in 2 or 3 days, they're eating that high starchy diet for breakfast, lunch, and dinner when they're visiting that culture, going, to their country or just in their neighborhood. They'll start experiencing health problems on that 3rd day, eating their diet. Within our culture, the sun revitalizes us mentally, physically, and spiritually. Like our well-being is supercharged by the sun's rays. Like our complexion gets clearer, our hair gets better, our mood gets enhanced. The more we're exposed to sunlight, direct sunlight, while people that don't look like us, they get like super red. Their skin will peel and flake if they don't go outside with sunscreen. If they're exposed to sunlight on a daily basis, on a long-term basis, they will develop skin cancer. So we're not all the same, is what I'm saying. And this is especially the section reflective of that. So we can just do ourselves a favor and stop with this kumbaya-ish, because we're not all the same. So we all can love the same. We can all have the love, admiration, and respect for each other, the mutual common love and respect for each other. You want somebody to respect you, you respect somebody else. You want somebody to love you, you got to show love to get love. We can all agree on that. But then we also must agree and accept, our cultural differences. Because if we don't, the laws of nature will kick in. So, like I said, the health and wellness section on the Narrator podcast is designed to address the health concerns of original people, physically, mentally, and spiritually. So this week, I'm giving a physical tip. And it's something super basic, something like, this one really is kind of for everybody. But again, why I feel it's like related more towards our people is just something we don't really think about as a people, because we as a people have had to physically endure so much. We really kind of don't think about it, but again, we need to start thinking about it, because there's so many things that they're putting in the food we consume, in products that we use, that adversely affects our health on a daily basis. So this is something we need to do every single day, no matter how physically well you're feeling. You need to do this every single day if you are a melanated person. So the physical health tip today that I'm giving is going to sound super basic, but it's something we take for granted. Is stretching. Now there are literally hundreds and hundreds and thousands of stretches out there, but our people, we need to stretch more. Because stretching, it regulates the blood flow. It enhances your mood. It'll keep your joints. It'll add elasticity to your joints. And it'll have you, feeling better, moving more freely. Because, with all these additives they're putting in everything, we'll get blockages in our body. And it gets worse the older you get. But, our physical ailments, because of all the harmful things they're putting everything these days, are striking young people. I'm seeing a whole lot of people under the age of 30 with really bad postures, walking funny. They got joint pain. Like people under age 30 got rheumatoid arthritis. People under the age of 30, are having muscle spasms. People are under the age of 30 are living in pain, like serious, serious pain. So a good way to reduce the physical pain is to stretch. Now, you're going to get hurt in this life. Like, that's one thing's for certain, two things for sure. You're going to get injured at some point of your life. You're going to take a tumble. You're going to pull something. But again, the way to stay ahead of the curve is proper maintenance. You got to properly maintain everything in life. You got to properly maintain your mindset. You got to properly maintain your finances. You got to properly maintain your body health. You got to properly maintain your body hygiene. So it's like you can't get better if you don't, properly maintain it on a regular basis. So said all that to say, stretch. First thing you do in the morning, stretch. Before you go to bed, stretch. Stretch as many times as you can periodically throughout the day to keep yourself nice and nimble. Because when you fall down and hurt yourself, that'll speed recovery of, wherever you got injured. Like it's just inevitable in life. You're going to hyperextend when you're working out. You're going to fall. You might do a little oopsie daisy, whoops, fell, or you might fall off a cliff. Legit, people get banged up. We take hits. We get banged up. We get bruises, bumps. We break limbs. You're going to tear muscle tissue. But stretching will aid in the recovery of your cellular regeneration, will aid in speed and recovery when you injure yourself. So you must practice stretching every single day, and that's something our people aren't really practicing enough. And I really don't see too many people stretching before, they go work out. When I be going to the gym, they just right on the machine. They get right on the treadmill and just start going. They don't stretch first. So that's one thing, kind of miss in elementary school. They made you in PE. They made you do stretches. So most people, they don't stretch unless they're playing a team sport. Yeah, when you're hooping, the hoopers, because you can tear an ACL, you can tear a meniscus, get a slip disc, all kinds of injuries. So you gotta stretch every day, especially if you're in a state that got 4 seasons. Like in the wintertime, you know, you slip on a patch of ice, you're gonna land wrong, you're gonna knock something loose. So stretching is vital, stretching is key. Stretching is, you know, part of your sustainability as a living being. It helps like pump, you know, blood to the correct arteries and limbs and all that. It just refreshes your joints, gets you all loose, and prevents stiffness. So that's the health and wellness tip of today. This week on the Narrator Podcast, weekend edition, stretching. So whatever you're doing in life, find the correct stretches you need to do, especially those of us working 9-to-5 jobs that have requirements that are physically demanding, like those of us working in warehouses, those of us who are heavy machine operators, you know, people that do construction, the jackhammer. Yeah, you need to stretch, definitely. Underwater welders, people that work QSR jobs, on that range top grill at the Mackie D's, Burger King, y'all need to stretch. Because you take a slip on that floor, down goes Frazier, no benefits. 99 out of 9 working jobs like that, you ain't got no health benefits, and if you do, you had to be there for a grip for them to get activated, and it's probably not going to cover your injury, and good luck trying to get them for work comp. You know how long that takes? So bottom line, stretch. And that was this week's health and wellness tip on the Narrator Podcast. My next section is a section where I'm discussing current events. This section is called my speaking point section. So all I'm doing is talking about things that are trending on the internet, you know, national headlines, global headlines, or just stuff that affects our community. Sometimes I'm talking about 2 or 3 things. Sometimes I'm only talking about one thing. Today I'm only talking about one thing. And the reason why I'm doing that is just basically to break whatever is happening, you know, in the world. I'm breaking it down from our perspective, you know, what that means to our community, how that relates to us, whatever the news is. Because if history hasn't taught us anything, it's taught us this: if you don't tell your own story will be told for you. And that's precisely what the media has been doing when it comes to original people. They've been telling our story for us. They've been telling the story of ignorance. They've been telling the story of violence. They've been telling the story of laziness. They've been telling the story of debauchery, of buffoonery. So, I'm going to tell it how it is, and I'm going to tell it from an original people's perspective, what it means for us. Now, in the event, if I don't have any current news to talk about, sometimes I just do a quick PSA, an observation, something I notice about our people that we should be working on as a people. And by we, I mean me as well. Sometimes me especially, depending on what it is. But I just got one thing I want to talk about, something that has been lost in the shuffle, about all the stuff that's been happening around the world, the P. Diddy stuff and all this stuff, like all these other things. I think I already told y'all in the last 3 episodes of the Narrator podcast, lynchings. They still lynching people in 24. But anyway, I got some news that hit hard in our community. It went viral last week. A whole lot of content creators covered it. But like I said, it was just been so much going on in the world. The elections, all that stuff. We've been losing people, famous people within our community, left and right. But yeah, this one kind of hit close to home. This is a story about happening news earlier in the month. A young brother who was on a swim team. This young brother was on a swim team in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. So, some odd reason, this person that didn't look like us, I guess it was like a hazing ritual ceremony, which in most colleges, that's kind of against the rules now, because we live in a super PC era. So most places, most higher institutions of learning, they got a hazing policy. But he took it to the next step, the hazing ritual of that swim team, because most team sports, they got hazing rituals. Football teams, it's not uncommon. High school and colleges have hazing rituals where they, in high school, it's like the freshman treatment was like, the upperclassmen beat up the freshmen. That was the freshman treatment. Depending on what high school you went to, it was like a punch in the arm, or like you might get jumped by some seniors as a freshman. Depending, sports teams, they all got their rituals. Might get smacked with the rags on the football team or the basketball team, popping towels, snapping towels at each other. Girls, when they do the cheerleading, when they pledge cheerleading, and they do they might do something super crazy to have you get on the cheerleading squad. You gotta do whatever they say. They might throw a bucket of water on you. Point being, there's hazing rituals in anything in North American culture. U.S. military, I know that Air Force, when they get their wings, they pin the wings, like the wings that punched, all the guys are punched, they punch it into your chest. So like your chest to be bleeding, trying to basically show how tough you are. But anyway, this guy takes it too far. The hazing ritual thing way too far. He takes a box cutter and takes and writes the N-word across this young brother's chest that attended this college. So even if he didn't write the N-word, he already took the hazing ritual way too far with a weapon. Like he could easily go too deep and puncture, a vital organ with a box cutter. You can easily puncture a vein. He's probably going to have to get laser surgery to get the N-word removed off his chest. A box cutter? So that's a razor blade. And he thought it would be hilarious to write the N-word across his chest. And like always, the brother was the only brother on the swim team. And see, the minds of these cowards, these white, I call them white delusionists. They call themselves white supremacists. But they're delusional in their thinking. That's why I call them white delusionists. You can't be supreme, think you're better than somebody when you run around doing cowardly things. If you think you're better than somebody, meet them on equal standings. And if you really feel they're super beneath you, give them the resources to get on the same level you're on, and see how fun it is when the rabbit got the gun. But no, these white delusionists always pick on somebody from our community that can't really defend themselves. They pick on handicapped people. I seen, wasn't it during the pandemic? This dude was picking on a brother that was autistic from our community, way out there in the suburbs. He was just walking, legit minding his own business. This guy comes out of his house, talking about, what are you doing walking by my house? Get away from here. Da-da-da-da-da. And then, our community, we came to our brother's defense and showed up on his lawn with the magnitude, what's happening, like we were supposed to do. But anyway, in this instance, it's a little conflicting because, he's away at college, and that is a learned behavior. So where did this young guy that don't look like us learn this from? Learn this hatred from? It had to be taught to him by his parents. Had to be taught by him by his community that he lives in. Because why would your first inclination be to treat somebody who don't look like you cruelly? Why would you be cruel to somebody who don't look like you? Why would you write a word that is hurtful to them? Oh, well, they say it all the time in the music. They call themselves the N-word in the music. Why get offended when I say it? So, for full context, the N-word that he wrote across his brother's chest was the N-word hard R. we already done had this discussion between the iterations and is it okay, and why we say it, and we already did that. I'm not going to go into the semantics surrounding the N-word, but it's never okay. I don't care how many black friends you got. I don't care how many black relatives you got. Or as on my platform, I refer to our people as original people. How many original people, friends you have, how many original people, relatives you have, no matter how many schools you attended of original people, there was predominantly original people. I'm telling you, you don't got the pass to say it. Even if they say it to you, you don't got the pass. Just say, I don't want to. No, I don't feel right. I don't care if they call you one every single day. Don't say it back. That's with the A. Now, if you want to put that ER and wake up in the ER, that's on you. But, yeah. It's a tragic story. It was some self-taught hatred. Definitely. This is one of them situations. An apology is not acceptable because he's in college, so he knows the difference between right and wrong, even though his upbringing might have fostered his view. You should just know not to do that. Or if that's what you think of, at least keep it to yourself. Make sure there ain't nowhere in earshot. You can think whatever you want to think in the confines of your own home. But don't bring it to nobody's face, especially if you're not willing to deal with the consequences. Now, this young man handled it amicably. The next one, original man or original woman that you run across, they might not have the restraint and the resolve this young man had. I'm telling you right now, if it's me, you'll probably get your jaw broke. You'll probably get your jaw broke. I'm going to try to take your head off. I'm going to do the Mexican hat dance on your face. If you say it. I'm just telling you. Don't. Wrong one. Wrong guy. I don't got that resolve. If it's on the job, call the police. Comfortably. Let's go. Come on, boys. I'm ready. Do it if you want to. But, yeah. It was unfortunate. This happens all over the nation somewhere. It's still going on to the day. 24. So we really haven't come that far as a society. So pardon me, Madam VP. America is very much still a racist country, no matter what you're talking about. So, it's a slippery slope. Now they're saying they expelled the young man, which they should. They haven't released any names. I don't know why they're releasing names. Not releasing the names. I don't know why. I feel like if the situation had it been reversed, had the young brother assaulted, you know, the young man that didn't look like our people, it would have been like viral. It would have been all up and down timelines and memes and, you know, certain people that do look like us within our community that often side with other people that don't look like us on these type of issues. They would have had something to say with their biscuit eating selves. So, you know, what it kind of actually reminds me of is that episode on A Different World. Like right when I heard this story, I immediately flashed on to that episode of A Different World. The N-word episode, I think it was Dean Cain's, one of his freshman debuts on television. It was like, 5 or 10 years before Superman. So in that episode, you know, Ron Bell and Kadeem Hardison, they were regulars on Different World in the episode. The N-word episode, they had an away game, and then they come out, you know, Ron Bell's character, he bet, you know, they're going to Hillman College, which on The Different World was an all-black college, original people college, and then they was facing off against Dean Cain's college, which is mostly predominantly white, and then so he's like, okay, well, I bet you so and so and so. They pretty much placed a wager. Hillman won, and then Dean Cain's character got out after you know, the game was over. Had to pay Ron Bell's character some money, and then they go out and saw his car had the N-word on it. Looked like it was like only missing the R, but it was like N-I-G-G, you know, on his car. And then their characters get into a fight, and then they're in the county jail because this happened down south, some little backwoods state, I forget. It was years ago, but it was still like an iconic episode of a Different World. You know, that was a good, powerful television show. They don't really make television shows like that anymore. The early 90s was a time within our culture when we had positive frames of reference about our people and our culture. We had readily positive frames of reference about our people and our culture. Not just visuals in music and hip hop. Hip hop was the most conscious. It was at its peak of consciousness in the early 90s. But that's what that made me flash to when I heard about that particular incident. It made me just like revisit that moment in television history, within our history as a people. It was really a brilliant show. I don't know why we haven't had shows like that since then. Now everything is all buffoonish and debaucherous and just like really shameful to watch, really hard to watch, just really cringy and almost unbearable to watch. Like that's the representation of our people that you guys are giving us these days on these television shows, on these movies, in these commercial ads. Yep, terrible situation. So takeaway from this whole situation is history can and does repeat itself. So don't act like, you know, this can't happen in this modern day society. This can very well happen in like LA. This can very well happen in New York. Like this is still here. It's not going nowhere. If you live in North America, this racism stuff is not going anywhere. Everybody hates everybody pretty much. So be vigilant, be cautious. Within our community, you need to let somebody know where you're going. You need to check on your people at all times, especially when they're going to predominantly white spaces. You need to let somebody know where you're at, who you're traveling with, who's like has access to your space, your safe space, who has access to your proximity. So don't like go nowhere off by yourself. Don't go to no all white clubs, no all white dance clubs, no nothing. Especially in these little backwater hick towns. Like you better than me if you go to one of these greasy spoon diners and eat something out of it. I don't eat meat anyway, but I ain't been doing no out to eat really since the pandemic. So I've been preparing all my meals. Like I think since the pandemic I've done like two places. I swear to God, 2 places since the pandemic. One was a vegan option, and the other one was just a beverage, and it was tea. But yeah. That's bad business, man. Keep your head on swivel and stay alert. Now, for my very last section of the Narrator podcast, this section is called Wise Word of the Day. The wise word of the day is just a philosophical, reflective point of view to just reflect upon and think critically about. And if it don't apply, let it fly, because obviously the message wasn't for you. But if I'm speaking to you, then if what I'm saying, then obviously it is for you. But if it don't apply, let it fly. So this is just a gem, a pearl of wisdom, a jewel, whatever you want to call it. Wise word of the day is steady. Steady, steady, steady. Everything in life you must study about. All subjects. Constantly strive to learn something new every single day. But out of all the subjects you study, out of all the things you read about, make sure the thing you're studying every single day, I mean every single day, make sure you study you. Now down south, they used to, when you get mad at somebody, they used to have a little saying, like, oh man, I ain't studying you. I ain't studying what you're talking about. I ain't studying you. Yeah. And that's what you shouldn't do. You shouldn't be studying another person. Meaning worried about what somebody else is doing and what somebody else got going on in their lives. Just study you. Study all the habits of you, everything that makes you, you. Master yourself before you master anything else. The most brilliant minds in history are people that, introverted people. People that didn't like hang out with big crowds. People that was often alone all by themselves all the time. Came up with the most complex theories that, still perplex the average mind today. Why was they able to come up with that? Is because they was studying whatever theory that they're known for, but they was also mastering the art of themselves. They were just worrying about their own business, studying themselves, trying to be better than themselves, like the greatest sports players alive to date, like all the great athletes. A really, really good example of that is R.I.P. Kobe Bryant. They didn't call that man the Black Mamba for nothing. Sure, he had his influences. People inspired him to want to play basketball. But the person he was trying to beat, like he had many, many different opponents from many different teams, but the person he stayed trying to beat was himself. Like there have been 1,000 interviews from people that played alongside Kobe or against Kobe, and they all said Kobe never went out to clubs. Like he just lived in the gym, perfecting his shot all day long. That's all he ever did. Another good one. Martial arts. Bruce Lee. He made his own style of martial art. Jeet Kune Do. Because he was studying his own body movements, postures. He was studying how he walked. His angles and degrees. Just how high he can raise his leg, how, his reach, his wingspan. Does it hurt when I do this? Like, his stress points in his own body. Mastered his own body to make it do what he wanted it to do. And so, in conclusion, the wise word of today is study. Study yourself, study your path, study your surroundings, study your life. Study what you want to have in your life. Study what direction you want your life to go. But study yourself. And that's all the time we have for this broadcast. Join me again this weekend for another full episode of the Narrator Podcast. And this week, during the weekday, next week, for weekday episodes of the Narrator Podcast. That's it and that's all. Thank you for supporting. Thank you for listening. Sending you light, love, healing energy to everything we got going on. Like everything you may have going on in your situation. You know, whatever it is. You know, mentally, physically, spiritually, financially. You know, we're going to elevate and levitate. And whatever you want, it's going to gravitate towards you. As we changing the narrative, we changing the frequency, we changing the atmosphere. We're changing the narrative. I'm Halsey Allen, and I'm changing the narrative one episode at a time. I need your help to change the narrative, though. So while I'm changing, I'm asking you to help me change the narrative by becoming a narrator. And while I'm changing the narrative on my end, one episode at a time, as a narrator, you can help me change the narrative on your end, one social media post at a time. Until next time, Halsey Allen in the Narrator Podcast, signing off. And it's like that.
You are now listening to the Narrative Podcast with Halsey Allen. The Narrative Podcast is changing the narrative one episode at a time.